A few years ago, I read this incredible book by Nassim Nicholas Taleb called Antifragile, Things That Grows from Disorder. And it completely changed my life because it added a whole new framework. So before that, I was seeing the life in terms of fragile or robust or resilient, meaning things that could break us or our ability to just withstand a lot of stress and challenge. But this book introduced a new concept, which is about things that grows from that challenge. And there was no word for it in the English language. So that's why he coined this new concept called anti-fragile, meaning the opposite of fragile. Fragile is when stress up gets upon it, it breaks. And robust is simply it can withstand pressure. And anti-fragile would then be, please kick it, toss it, bang it, because it's gonna just come out stronger. I highly recommend you to read that book if you haven't already. And what I want to do in this video and a few of the follow-up videos is to share my experience and what I have found opportunities to introduce anti-fragile patterns into my life, or especially when it comes to work and organizing events and creating companies and things like that. So here I want to introduce 3 different anti-fragile patterns. And the first one is act as if there's no contract and talk to the human. The idea behind is that having a strong contract makes you robust, meaning it protects you from change. If something is happening, you at least have a baseline protection that you can legally lean on and get that thing true. The problem is change can have a lot of impact on the people involved, and we want to understand what that impact is. Let me give you a concrete example from my own experience. We used to run an event called the Chase Festival. It was a 4-day event. We had committed to over 80 artists from all around the world. We had 1,200 something customers coming from all around the world. So, and usually this was sort of sold out weeks and months before the event, and everything had been committed to and so on. And one day, the venue owner where we were holding the whole event sent me an email saying, unfortunately, we have to cancel your whole Sunday. After a micro panic, I realized that I can't and I don't want to destroy the relationship by guilt tripping, trying to leaning on contracts and things like that, because we wanted to be at this venue also for the future editions. So I called them up and found out that the reason why they did a cancellation was that they had an opportunity for a 7-figure gig and needed the whole Sunday to set up the venue so it fits the 1-week gig that started on the Monday. So obviously, I also didn't want to be the reason for them not being able to accept this opportunity, because it was a major, major opportunity for them. So I was brainstorming for myself and managed to schedule a meeting to go and talk to them in person. At that meeting, we managed to carve out a win-win situation that allowed us to still provide a different program, but still a very good program for a Sunday, while they still had an opportunity to set up what they needed to set up so they can accept the big gig. And in fact, this situation was so good that we turned it into a permanent feature of our festival. So all of the future editions had that same concept. And this is what I mean, where instead of trying to be robust and resilient to change and prevent those things to affect us, we just took this opportunity and made it something that became better than what it was before. This is the growth that comes from the stress that impacted us. Another anti-fragile pattern I want to share is use policies as reminders. And it's a little bit the same idea, because the whole theme of this video is about talking to the person, is that when you write documentation, that documentation should be treated in different ways depending on who you are engaging with. So let me give you a story first. A few years ago for SwingStep, we were at a phase where we were introducing a lot of new people as external helpers for our classes. And we realized in the process that we didn't have the right documentation in place to have a clarity about what the agreement is like, what are we expecting, what can they expect from us. So as a big fan of Michael E. Gerber and the E-Myth books, I went and worked on my business, not in the business, and created a lasting documentation that addressed all these issues. And unfortunately, I stopped at that point and I didn't talk with my team about how this document should be introduced. And what ended up happening is that for one of the teams, the document was introduced and the reaction we got back is exactly what we expected. So this person talked to the team in person and sort of injected it with humanity, had made space for bilateral communication and handled questions, could address the worries, concerns that people were having. So it was exactly the way we wanted to go through this process. For the other team, what happened is that the document was sent to the team, hoping that the clear text that we have written does the communication for us. And unfortunately, it sent all the wrong signals. One of them being the letter from above, so to say, creating this very strong hierarchy that we wanted to avoid in our company. And a lot of the concerns wasn't addressed right away. So text has a lot of room for misunderstanding. So it took us a lot of time to mend these relationships and rebuild trust. And yeah, it was just none of the time saving elements actually happened. And we learned something really valuable from this experience. And that is that when you have policies, you want to have very distinct separation between when new people are introduced to it versus when existing people are just needing a reminder. When new people are introduced to it, your policies are notes for you when you talk to them. It's a reminder of what points do you want to bring up when you talk to the person and introducing them to them. So right away, you can have that back and forth communication. And that's the anti-fragile pattern where when you make that space for that conversation to happen, then you grow together for it because there's clarity that's coming, and maybe you even discover something that is missing in the document. You can go back and add that as a reminder point or how to bring it up with the next group of people you're talking to. And then on the other hand, if there is a situation where everybody's already being introduced to the whole thing, but we forgot a detail, instead of asking your colleagues or boss and whatnot, what you do is to say, well, we have that in the document. You can go and check there. So those are the moments where you want to just save the time and say, hey, but it's in the document, versus in the other cases, you want to personally introduce it to inject it with humanity. So anti-fragile pattern 3, actively seek out conflict. Again, staying with the theme of talking to the human. What I mean with this is that a few years ago, I studied a lot of nonviolent communication, active listening, and all of these things, and also put a lot of that knowledge and experience into a book that was intended for dancers because it's real stressful as especially couples working together. And if you want it, you can just comment in the comment section and I'll share it with you. But the main thing around actively seek out conflicts is that successfully resolving conflicts is a major Stoff in German, meaning material for growth. What I mean with that is energy cannot be created out of thin air. There needs to be some form of energy that is converted into the energy that is creating that muscle between two people for growth. And negative emotional energy is a great source of that material that we can have. So when you feel like somebody's stressed, somebody's annoyed, somebody's irritated about something, instead of hoping that that's just going to pass, you can take that as an opportunity to bring it to the surface and sort of try to understand what's going on behind those expressions, those thoughts, or those comments, maybe slight backhanded compliments or passive aggressive messages. If you have the skills and tools for surfacing them without making them worse, and also knowing how you can resolve them to create something positive, you have embedded a very strong anti-fragile pattern into your arsenal of communication tools, right? And I find this to be a very powerful anti-fragile pattern that has really helped me grow stronger relationships with my team, with a family, and of course, external service providers and whatnot. I made a video about this some time ago where I used this concept to also create magical experiences for events. So if you're interested about it, just also have a look at that other video. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you do the usual social media stuff where you like, subscribe, share with other people. I would appreciate it a lot. And I'll see you in the next one.